What's up, guys? I just wanted to touch up on interagency relationships and how they're really affecting our ability to, branch out into the public and educate them on mental health and the stigma surrounding it. On top of that, the way that we're all button heads is, it's all in good fun to a point, and then it gets overextended, and people are really starting to get worked up about it. And I find that when that happens, the general public reaches out and expresses how they feel due to a lack of information. Mind you, somebody who's been, let's use for example, in the medical field and transferred over to the fire field understands, okay, now as a medic, I get why firefighters get to sleep on shift. Firefighters get to work out on shift. Some of them, not all of them. Firefighters train on shift. Again, some of them, not all of them. And these are things that, as a firefighter myself, I think medics should get to sleep on shift. Every chance that they get, they should be able to sleep so they have a sharp mind. A lot of my job can be done through routine, right? It just automatically clips in and I just go to work, right? And then I'm just do as I'm told. And lots of times the amount of thinking I actually have to do, it is significantly minimized due to the management system that we have in place to manage those incidents. For medics, lots of times there's only two of them. They're out there by themselves making decisions on the fly by themselves. They are the management system. When it comes to bigger calls, yeah, they get to call into a doctor or the hospital and try and get a little bit more help, but they have to treat, they have to diagnose, they have to stabilize all the way to the hospital, and their job doesn't end there. We had somebody reach out a little while back, talking about how there's this heroism based around firefighting. Mind you, it's not entirely true. Yes, they get put a little bit more onto a pedestal than most other services. And that is something that us here on the show and, True Heroes Coffee wants to relate to people that, we see it as a big picture. We see it as a whole team. And just because fire makes the news more than medical and police doesn't mean anything. You got to look at it this way. Lots of times what fire does is they pick up on the good things that happen on the fire ground, right? Oh, the fire department saved this building. Oh, the fire department went to a rescue and saved this person. But when medic and police are in the news, it's always police are on scene of an investigation, and it's just labeled bad news all the way across. They don't ever get to the end where they say police apprehended a suspect and have charged, right? Or medics approached a fire scene and saved two firefighters that went down. They never make it to that point with those services. I don't know why. I really think they should. And you know what? All coming back around to the interagency relationships we have. Yeah, we do butt heads like brothers and sisters will. We butt heads in our own services as well, and that's going to happen, right? We're working closely with each other. Lots of times, I'd say probably about 95% of the time, we treat it like what happens on the ice stays on the ice, right? When it's game time, it's game time. And we usually work very well with each other. The odd time that we don't, things do fall apart. But again, that's where a incident management system comes in and everybody plays their own roles. When it comes to the whole heroism end of it, it's not that people see firefighters as more of the heroes. It's just firefighters seem to just get more recognized because we have a little bit more time to deal with the public. We have a little bit more of a broad scope of actions. We don't just put out fires. We go to medicals and help out with the medics. We go to police incidents and help secure scenes. We deal with rescues. We deal with the public a lot more when it comes to charity events and making face, and that's not a lack of time on the medical or the police side of things. They make their way out there, but their job is very important, as is ours. but the amount of people for those services is lacking. So they don't have the extra resources to go and make the good press and shovel driveways or go out to charity events and raise money. They have to have complete other organizations like foundations and stuff like that set aside for that specific thing. And the connection isn't always made between the two. So again, it doesn't look as great, you know. And we want you to know that we don't ever see it that way. We see everybody as a first responder, corrections, nurse, military, a public servant in general. We're all the same team. And we need to start patting each other on the back instead of knocking each other down. It shouldn't ever be, oh, they get to sleep on shift. Well, I think medics should get to sleep on shift too. Maybe not the entire night, because people need help. Lots of busy fire stations, yeah, they get to sleep on shift, but they might get in that truck 9 times in a 12-hour or a 14-hour night and not actually make it to a call. But they have to get up, get into that truck. If it's a stand down call where they get stood down and they get sent back to the station, they might only be out there for 20 minutes, but that's 20 minutes now on the truck that they wake up. 2 minutes into the truck, they go for a drive for 20 minutes, they come back to the station, and then they try and fall back to sleep, and then they wake up for the next call. But the biggest thing is when shit hits the fan, they need to be ready. I've been on calls where we were out all night after I was at the station all day. So I did over 24 hours of work. It's like it piles up, and you got to realize that every system works in its own way to cater to the issues that come for that specific service. And when I relate it back to interagency relationships, is we need to start patting each other on the back and building each other up and working together. It shouldn't be medic, police, fire, correction. Like, we should all be one family. We're all public servants. We all have the same customer, which is the general public. Our customer base is the same, and we need to start treating it that way. As soon as we start working as a full team, that's when things are going to come together. You know, our critical incident stress management is going to find a place, and it can relate to all services as a whole, and we'll all be able to adapt the same thing. But it's a matter of building that, right? The sooner we realize that each service has its pros and cons, and not everybody's going to relate the same to each service. And there's a reason why firefighters are firefighters, medics are medics, police are police. We all handle things differently, and we are built a little bit more appropriately for each position. A lot of the medics that I've worked with in the fire end say, you know, like, there's a lot of things that need to be worked, but I still casual because I enjoy the job, right? So there's a lot going on there that people don't understand. And if you haven't had an opportunity to do a ride along with any of those services, or really jump in and educate yourself on that service, we really shouldn't be talking any shit. We should really just, and regardless, who cares? That's their job. If you're not happy with that and you think somebody else has got it better, go and try it. Go and research on it. Go and figure it out, right? Us constantly beating down on each other about this stuff is just creating more of a stigma, right? You're causing a lot more, you know, issues than there needs to be. And I mean, feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know your thoughts. I know some people get really worked up about the topic, and that's totally fine. You guys are all, you know, you're open to your own opinions, but just keep in mind everybody's job's different, right? The manager has a different job than the employee. The owner has a different job than the manager, right? These are all different situations that, you know, you're 100% in control of your own situation, and if you're not going to try and fight for the things that you want, then stop complaining. So you're like, complaining it just circle back and kicks you in the butt, you know, like, it doesn't cause anything better to happen. So that's something that I just kind of wanted to relay to you guys is, you know, our interagency relationships are something we should always improve on. We're a family. We're a family whether we like it or not, you know. Brothers and sisters butt heads, and that's totally okay, but talking shit and beating somebody down doesn't help. It doesn't help the stigma. It doesn't help with mental health. It doesn't help our communication on the incident. You know, we should all be working together, and we should all be happy to work together. And you know what? I am very thankful for all those other services, because I don't want to do what police do. I don't want to do what medics do. I don't want to be a nurse, you know. I'm not smart enough to be a doctor, but we need them. So Nick and I were actually talking about that earlier today, you know, like these are things that we need to take into account and understand that each job is different. If you don't like it, then that's fine, but you still have to work with those people, you know. And you can't knock somebody down that you've never met. How do you know a fire station? There's some fire stations that they go for a 24-hour shift and they're not allowed to sleep because they're constantly moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. Mind you, there's hundreds of stations, and I'm sure EMS is like that already, because especially in my town, because there's a lack of staff, there's a lack of resources, there's a lack of equipment, which again is causing faster burnout and, you know, easier physical fatigue. And, you know, lots of times the fire department goes along with them to go and help them. If those medics need that help, guess what? We're there. If they don't need that help, they send us away. That's fine. But we shouldn't be beating them down saying, oh, the monkeys have arrived. You know what I mean? Like, we all have an important part. And I bet they're very thankful when we show up and they got an extra set of hands on them. It's probably nice to have an extra set of hands to do the things that, you know, don't require a lot of this. And mind you, we are all very smart as firefighters. And lots of agencies they're integrated. They do both medical and fire. And you have to work just on medical before you can move into fire. Because they want you to know and manage those skills appropriately and become very efficient and smart in that field before you move up to firefighting. So you can manage those people when you do get into a, you know, an officer's position and whatnot. But the whole thing relating back to the mental health, it's the sooner we can unionize and come together, the sooner things will start to get figured out a lot faster. We'll have a lot more resources to fight the issues that are currently needing addressing. You know, we'll be able to connect on a much different level and ask each other, okay, well, what is it that your service needs? This is what my service needs. How can we combat this together and throw all of our money and resources into one big pile and find the solution that much quicker and develop something that much better? And I believe personally, if all the services come together as a whole and we start a first responders or emergency services or public service program that addresses the mental health as a whole, and there's just different sections for each little service so they can, you know, coordinate accordingly, because not every service is the same and we all operate differently. There's different management systems underneath this program as a whole. It'll be so much better. And we need to understand that, like, when we're talking to the general public about another service, you talking shit just looks worse on you, because once they get educated, they're going to form their own opinion, and they'll be like, wow, this guy just talked crap the entire time about this service. And I already know, after, you know, doing my own research, that he's lying about 95% of that, and that's not okay. You know, talking crap just comes around and bites you in the ass. As long as it's different when it's factual and you're talking from a point of view, and you've mentioned to that person, I'm talking from my own opinions. You know, it might be different. You might think differently. I recommend you go and do your own research, things like that. That's totally fine, but there is no reason to trash talk or step on another service or another person just because you want to look better in the moment. You know, I believe that showing up as a team is what gets things done. And that's what we need to do. And I mean, I want to hear your guys' opinions. What do you think that would be the best way to manage our interagency relationships? Is there something that we can do to help the communication glide along a little better? Is there something that we can do to work together? Is there anything that maybe the management systems can kind of integrate on that sense when it comes to mental health and it comes to training and the way that we run things, and how these agencies can work together in the incident, outside of the incidents, on our own personal time, things like that? How can we create a much stronger bond? So by all means, leave a comment. Let us know. Join the conversation. If you want to come on the show and you want to talk about this topic or another topic that you might have, reach out. Let us know. We want to hear it. We want to talk about it. We want to share it with our viewers. and everybody that we can to kind of ease the transition and come up with solutions and utilize the show as a resource where people can come and relate and they can talk and they can share and they can connect and get the things that they need in order to better their own lives in a holistic sense. So leave a comment below, let us know what's going on, and we would love to hear from you.